for the one. I'm ready for my wife. I want to settle down today. They're thinking, I hope she mostly looks like her pictures and she lets me smash. That's what most guys are thinking. And so to get, and a lot of women, when they show up to their first date, they're not thinking, I sure hope this guy just buys me a couple drinks, uses me sexually, and never calls me again. You know? And yet, that can happen, right? So it's like most women don't show up on a date thinking or expecting that they're going to go back to a guy's house and have sex. And yet that happens all the time, right? Why? Because that guy had a plan, that guy had some game, and that guy was moving interaction in the direction of that kind of relationship. The same thing happens for the committed relationships that women want. They don't just happen. They happen because a woman had a plan, she had some game, and she was guiding the relationship in the direction of that kind of encounter. Very few guys are going to give that voluntarily, just like very few women are just handing out sex to guys.
Yeah, very, very important. The concept of being intentional, the concept of having a plan, you know, navigating in a very smart manner, not just letting the wind blow you to wherever it's going to blow you to. You have to know what you want and how to get there, and you have to be strategic about it. You have to think about it. You have to put things in place to actually know what you want to do. Some women know how to do this, some men know how to do this, but I feel like most people don't know how to do this, and a lot of times they just let the wind blow. And when the wind blows, things happen, and you never have the ideal situation that you want. So it's very important, especially for guys, I feel, you know, what do you really want? What type of outcome do you want with this person? What smart plays can you actually use to get this person? I'm not really a fan of guys wanting to just have sex immediately and pump and dump. I feel like this is a very negative thing in our society, and it's just going to do more harm than good. A lot of these girls you're having sex with on the first date and not calling again or doing anything with, if a lot of guys are doing that same thing to her, would you want to be with her at the end of the day? No. You want your own woman to be, to preserve that chastity that he talked about. You want her to be pure. You want her to be clean. You don't want her to have a lot of crazy sexual experiences. You want to be the one to introduce a lot of those experiences to her. So why are you being the one that will, introduce or perpetrate those type of behaviors, and make those women adopt those type of behaviors? Why don't you be the type of man that you want to be now in order to get the type of woman that you would want? So let's just go back to this is just my personal opinion, personal preference, personal way I see the world, and I think the things should be done, but not necessarily everyone have that. Even Dr. Orion Taraban himself says he has no problem with people wanting sex immediately, but just for the net positive of society, I think that would just be a better way of handling things. Going back to intentionality, the same thing for a woman. It is very, very important in order to weed out all these men who just don't want anything positive, anything beneficial for the woman. They don't really have much positive things to give a woman, to be honest. So they need to know how to pick. They need to know how to select. They need to know how to weed out some of the people that would be, just a detriment to their lives. To be honest, just here to add to the number. You're just here to make me unpure for my for my future husband. So yeah, they need to be intentional. They need to be smart. They need to pick right. And I don't think it's as hard as people say it is. I feel like an average woman, if she's very, very, very intentional, if she's very, very smart and strategic, she can actually even get a millionaire if she's very intentional. Men cannot really do that, even if you're strategic. You know, women have a lot of power, but they just don't know how to use it, and they don't know how to use it smartly. But there are people who do know how to do this, and they actually get what they want. Let's move on.
Guys, just because they want it, right? Wanting is free. It costs nothing to want things. My wanting sex from women has never persuaded any single woman to give it to me in my entire life. Why would a woman wanting commitment or marriage or exclusivity or etc., why should that motivate me in and of itself to give that to her? Like, there has to be some back and forth, there has to be some strategy, and there has to be some, the value proposition has to make sense.
So, to boil down the transaction that's hopefully taking place, the woman is looking for a commitment and a better lifestyle, and the man is looking for an attractive sexual partner.
Most guys don't get beyond that. That's right. They're like, I just thought I wanted to have sex. That's why I called you up. You looked hot.
And eventually, hopefully, they develop feelings.
Often, not always.
Not always.
But yeah. I mean, what did Hannibal Lecter say? We covet what we see every day. So it's like, and there's the psychological term for that, I think, is the mere exposure effect, which is the well-documented phenomenon that people just feel more positively towards people, brands, ideas that they see every day. That's part of why marketing works, is that if I give you two brands and you've heard of this one and you haven't heard of this one, you're going to feel more positively disposed towards this one just because you're familiar with it. In fact, a great deal of dating and the emotion attached to that is really just familiarity as opposed to, let's say, love. But I digress. Okay, so a woman's in. She's now being the nastiest, sluttiest version of herself. So how can she convert that into the kind of relationship that she wants? The key is to stay there. The key to deepen the intimacy of that relationship beyond a pure sexual dynamic is for the woman to become useful. She has to be of use to the man in order to justify her introduction into increasingly intimate circles of his lifestyle. So let's go out on a limb and say that the men that the women are generally targeting for their relationships are not just like schmoes who are sleeping on the couch in their parents' basement. These are generally guys who are successful, who are rich, who are high status, who have prestigious professions. Maybe they're famous. Like, these women weren't there for this guy's struggles. They weren't there for when he was up and coming. Their target